and animals, it is now through the blessed Son of Yahweh himself, bleeding and atoning for our sins. This makes sense? It is for these plain reasons, listen, that the terms first and second covenants are fully acceptable, fully, turn your neighbor and say, acceptable fully. Let's try that again, fully acceptable. Even though there are technically 7 covenants. But it is acceptable to refer only to 2 covenants because only 2 provide you with a high priest. You will not find a high priest for all 12 tribes outside of these 2 covenants. But in order to give you the better high priest, why? Because unlike the sons of Aaron, he does not discontinue from his office due to his infirmities. He lives forever because he is a priest forever. Hello? After the order of Melech Tzaddik. Does this make sense? Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So there are other covenants, and technically, what is the first covenant? Let's be honest. Let's be honest. If we want to be technical here, we're not called to be technical, we're called to be spiritual. Aren't you glad sometimes Yahweh is not technical with us? Because technically, none of us should be saved. He doesn't deal with us technically, he deals with us according to Chesed, Rachamim, and the Ruach. Because technically, not one of us should be here. We should be getting a pedicure in the lake of fire. That's what our lot should be. That's what we really should. We should be getting a pedicure. While we just nip away a petit four, those little cookies that I love, that I can't stop eating, in the lake of fire. So technically, it's not how we relate to Yahweh or how Yahweh relates to us. There's nothing technical about it. It's Chesed, Rachamim, because morning by morning, new Rachamim we see. To that about Yahweh. Technically, what was the first covenant? The Edenic covenant made with Adam and Eve, where? Named after their first home. Yes. So if you want to be technical, in other words, professing themselves to be wise, they become fools, forever learning and never coming to the knowledge of the truth. And now they're leading thousands of their sheep astray because of these men, not just one, because of these men, millions of sheep, maybe hundreds of thousands of sheep are going to deny that the book of Hebrews is inspired. And the danger is when you start questioning the book of Hebrews, Galatians is right around the corner. And when you finish with Galatians, Colossians is right around the corner. And by the time you start questioning 4 or 5 books of the Brit Hadashah, your history, and you are a candidate for rabbinical Judaism, adios, we'll see you at Tashlich. If you knew what Tashlich meant, you'd understand. Tashlich is an unscriptural Jewish ceremony before Yom Teruah, what they call Rosh Hashanah, incorrectly, where they take bread and cast away and says, these are my sins. And as I cast away my bread in the lake, in the water, Tashlich, I throw away my sins. Based on Micah chapter 7, Yahweh is honoring that act, and he's throwing away my sins into the sea of his forgetfulness. It's nice, but it's not biblical. There's a lot of nice things that are not biblical. Hello? So technically, if you want to be technical and wrong and out of the spirit and lost and misleading thousands, what was the first covenant? The Edenic covenant made with Adam and Eve. That's the first covenant. But when it came to a high priest for all of mankind who desired to be right with Yahweh, what was the first covenant? The order of worship and divine service based and found and described and inscribed where? In the Torah. Are you getting this? It's very simple, right? Simple. But even more clearly, listen. More than that. As we go in Ivrim chapter 9, verses 1 through 5, nowhere in Greek or Aramaic, again, does the word covenant appear, even if they're right. Even if the Torah was the 5th covenant, and the Brit Hadashah was the 6th covenant, and the writer of Hebrews is a church idiot who knows nothing that he's talking about, even if all that's true, it doesn't matter. Why? The word covenant is not found here. He's talking about under what divine order is mankind approaching Yahweh. That's the topic. Do we approach him in the Levitical order or after the order of Melech Tzaddik, right? That's the topic. The word covenant is not in any of these verses. Forget about Aramaic, in the original Aramaic Peshitta. It's not in the Greek. But he gets on there and he's a big shot, and these guys are big shots, and they're teaching, hey, this can't be right written by Yahweh, because everybody knows the first covenant is not done away with. That's right, everybody knows that. But who told you Yahweh's talking about the first covenant? That word was added. Hello? Are we on? I said, are we on? Are we going? We going? We going? Baruch Hashem Yahweh. See how this reads correctly in the third edition of the Restoration of Scriptures. Hebrews 9:1. Then truly, listen, the first priesthood had regulations of worship. I took the word brit or covenant out. The first priesthood had regulations of worship and an earthly kadosh place. The matter again is the priesthood. And it's not the Mosaic covenant, it is not the first covenant, it is not any covenant. You see the need for the restoration scriptures? I think you do, especially as we perfect it. Remember, a text taken out of context is a pretext. If the man, look at me, if the man does not understand that this is not talking about covenants, and he thinks that the word covenant is in the text, why would you listen to anything else he has to say after that? Does that make any sense? He's not talking about covenants. So if the man tells you, I don't believe in the book of Hebrews. Why? Because it teaches that the first covenant has been done away with. Hello? The word covenant is not in the Aramaic or the Greek. So why would you listen to anything else he had to say over the next 4 hours? Do you understand what I'm saying? He's taking a text, taking it out of context, developing a pretext, and asking you to sit still for 4 hours so he could give you a pretext for 4 hours and then package it as a CD. Why would you want to settle for any pretext, let alone something later that's so full of pretext you can't even text the pre the text? And later on it's sold as a CD or a DVD package. If you say to me, B'nai Yeshua synagogues in Minneapolis, Minnesota, are you coming to Shabbat? Why don't you come to Shabbat? How come we haven't seen you at Shabbat in a year? Don't you know you should be at Shabbat? Don't you know you shouldn't be sitting home and doing laundry? Don't you know you shouldn't be answering the phone? And don't you know you shouldn't have to worry about those things if you were in shul with your brother and every Shabbat and every row was filled? So you need to go with me to synagogue in Minneapolis, in Miami Beach Israel Revival, in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Huh? Say what? B'nai Yeshua is not in Minneapolis. Right. So if the guy doesn't know where B'nai Yeshua is, how is he going to get you and your family to shul and to stop answering the phone and get to shul every Shabbat? Everything else the man is telling you is wrong, because even if you wanted to go to shul, you couldn't get there because you live in Miami and not in Minneapolis. Oh, that's heavy, man. And that's what these false teachers do. They think this is talking about the first covenant being done away with, and thus the book of Hebrews can't be in this. Only problem is the word covenant is nowhere in the text. Because they don't even know that. They don't even know that. Just like I didn't know that when I did the second edition. But I wouldn't teach that the book of Hebrews is not inspired. They have the chutzpah to use this error to propagate more error. Remember? That's a problem with error. Error begets error. If you believe it talks about the covenant, now you're going to go propagate your error based on error. That's why you got to nail error in the bud. Excuse me, bud. I mean, B-U-D, not B-U-T, B-U, bud. You got it right. Oh. You got to nip in the bud. Because if you believe that the book of Hebrews is all about the first covenant disappearing, and that if the writer of the book of Hebrews had an ounce of brain or wisdom or the Ruach HaKodesh, he would not refer to the Torah as the first covenant. Everybody knows the first covenant was made with what? Adam. Be fruitful, pru urvu. Pru urvu. Be fruitful and multiply. And fill the earth. That's the first covenant. So why is the writer of Hebrews calling the Levitical-based Torah worship the first covenant? He's not. Hello. The word covenant, no in Espanol, no in Aramaico, no in Hebreo. Do you understand that? And if you don't understand that, I'll do it in Yiddish. En nicht da. En nicht da.